from you, maybe exactly, we raise your hand, we got a...
Okay, sorry. So I was one of the original people that nicely signed up for the ICANN at large, what was it now, 5 years ago, 6 years ago? Sorry, is the microphone on? Okay, oh, sorry. So I was one of the people who was part of this ICANN at large like 5 years ago and was really happy that I could have this vote. And then all I saw was that there was fights with directors not being able to see the paperwork that was part of it and being kicked out. And so I was really skeptical. Now, if I look at the whole ICANN, IANA, who is in control of it, I myself am very much involved with the DNS security, which comes back straight to who signs the root zone and who is in control, and is it the US government or is it some other organization? And really it's taking a lot of energy away from the other things that ICANN's actually trying to do, whether or not you agree with some of the outcome. So personally, I'm not sure if it's so interesting whether it's ICANN or not. I think the only reason ICANN is hanging in there is that it's fairly powerless at this point in a stalemate. And frankly, I'm not sure if whether having a say or whether trying to have a say in ICANN via the at-large is actually just not giving them one more excuse to keep that stalemate going. But if I look at Bali, what happened at Bali? Everybody talked about who controls the root, and nothing else, publicly at least, was released about what did people accomplish at Bali for the internet at large.
Okay, we will collect a few questions due to the time we have left. That's not so much. Please, the next.
Yeah. Thank you for the talk. I think the best way to get access to ICANN would be through politicians, as I saw already some nice organizations in the at-large structures in Europe, like the FÖBUT and others. So I think we will need to convince politicians to influence ICANN. So to say, I don't know how this the government assembly. How the government representatives are elected. Perhaps there is the possibility to influence this process, so to say, to get the German government or other governments to make this an open election. Who represents Germany in the ICANN, in the government access?
Any more?
The government people, all right.
Yeah, any more? There's one at the bottom. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And perhaps to continue the idea already expressed, how could it happen that the first draft of ICANN with at-large directors and all that evolved to what we saw today and what we see today, which has virtually no influence at all. Left for the public at large. How could that happen, and what can we learn from the process, and what to avoid next?
There was one right in the back of the room. And then I think we round up. Yep. Yeah.
What if I do not want new TLDs and I absolutely do not want IDNs? Isn't the current structure of ICANN the best protection against new TLDs and IDNs?
All right.
All right, I guess that's all good questions. So we'll start with the first one. That is, if I summarize correct, roughly, if we just don't justify a process that's totally fucked up already when integrating ourselves in that process, and what are our real chances to, to do something against or in the field of the issues? So that goes to you both.
You want to start?
ICANN is justifying itself perfectly well without any of our help. So we're trying to make the processes of participation lighter weight, so that it's easy to submit a comment saying, this works or this doesn't work, and the advisory committee is insisting more and more strongly that we actually get feedback and analysis of those comments, so that its participation isn't capitulation, isn't admitting that this is the best of all possible worlds, but rather saying, this is what we've got, and if there are easy ways to try to make it better, maybe we can twist a few screws. Another Americanism, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. To go to the later question, why is it that ICANN was allowed to evolve to ignore the public? Because the public wasn't the squeaky wheel back then. The intellectual property lawyers were, and they got processes and procedures to protect domain name trademarks against domain names, and they got structures to give them influence. If we squeak a little more loudly, I'm not promising that we can reverse the structural changes overnight, but we can make it harder to ignore the public.
Okay, and next question was, should we collect politicians to be integrated in that process for also not only that they are maybe elected persons, but mainly for that they might have the money, the infrastructure to play a role a bit more, let's say, well-equipped?
Oh, well,
that was a question.
I wondered if you wanted to say that government people should be elected directly.
Yes,
to,
also. Yeah.
I thought that's a real fun idea. You know, that's great. I love it. So, huh?
Yeah, in Leibland mal. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's see how far you get. But I think, you know, just that there is, even if we reach the state that there is public watching government people, whoever they are, if they are elected or not, that would be really helpful, because those folks are just, you know, doing something there, and without any transparency, without normally, really, I can assure you, normally the governments don't know what their own folks are doing there. Very often that is the case. And so it would be very helpful if there was transparency. If you get those people elected, go ahead. This would be, I think this would be fun.
I think, yeah, it's a very good idea. Also watching the fact that the next question was what is the lessons learned? And one of the lessons learned is the governments participate almost in a clandestine way. The GAC meetings are closed door meetings. Right. You do not enter the room if you're not a governmental representative. Even the board just has a session that is behind closed doors, where the government advisory committee addresses the issues to the board. So then you got this, as a board member, I got the rare moments to hear, you know, what the fuck the governments want. But that is normally not an open process, which makes it maybe even more, you know, suspicious for claiming, hey, what are these governments addressing there? Who elect them, and what's the issues they bring up in the interest of whom? So that's a very good idea.
And also, yeah.
But maybe, come on, let's stay with the question. So what's the lessons learned? I mean, I could of course, I gave a talk, I guess, 2 or 3 years ago here about the lessons learned. I could try to summarize that once more. But at the end of the day, it's always a struggle between, do you justify a process you're into because you cannot really change the process, because you are a minority, you are underfunded in respect. If you look at intellectual property lawyers, there's like 200-300 people coming there with their secretaries, all flying business class, you know, having all the equipment they want, having their back offices, and you come there, you know, tired, as a more or less individual, wearing your own luggage and, you know, caring about everything. And that, of course, makes a big difference. On the other hand side, if you're not there, no one will even hear about this. So, I mean, the lessons learned might be sounding a bit frustrated, but the other hand side, you could, you know, leave them do their thing alone and say that's a clandestine fuck-up and we don't want to participate in it, but that's, if that is helpful is another question. So maybe you got some comments about what's the lessons learned, and from your point of view, so are there like key things you would say you learned in this process of trying to participate in the role of the individuals in the ICANN process?
I think I would say that there are lots of people of goodwill in the process, and even if the structure is designed against hearing from the public, there are lots of people, even all the way up at the board level, who do want to hear from the public and who want reasoned explanations of what it is that concerns the public. If we can help to collect and provide those viewpoints, that has the possibility to make a difference. Most of what ICANN does is little stuff that doesn't interest the ordinary internet user. But some of the things it does are things that are of great concern, and in those places we want to encourage targeted interventions. If you're concerned about privacy or new or internationalized domain names or have security and stability concerns, let us know, and let us know how we can encourage ICANN to work for your interests.
Okay, and then there was the last question, which we should also address. Isn't the current ICANN process and structure the best protection against new TLD? So,
yeah, of course, I did not forget your question over there. To round it up, I'd say there are always allies and enemies in all the constituencies. Well, not that many allies in the intellectual property constituency, but you can find government representatives who are really smart and nice and who care about privacy. You can find with the registrars, there are smart and very democratic-oriented people there. You can find business people who, of course, want to do their business, but they also want to have a democratic procedure. So, I mean, there are all sorts of people around, and I have to disappoint you. The last question saying, well, do we just leave it the way and then it's protected against IDNs and new TLDs? Yes, ICANN did not want to have new TLDs, but they will have it. We were loud enough already. And there is an interest, and I don't think that they really can escape the introduction of new TLDs. They are prolonging the procedure, yes, but they won't avoid it. They won't get around it. And concerning IDNs, there is a strong will from developing countries which have, and not only developing, also countries who have really a totally different script, and they are just pushing hard. And so I don't think that ICANN can avoid it. They are on the way to do it. And, well, in a whole to say, what shall we do? Find allies, and transparency is the issue here. Look at what government people are doing, look at the procedure, and give comments and form an ALS.
All right, so thanks a lot. Our time is also kind of over, but we'll be, I guess, available for questions outside. So thank you. Okay.